Wow, you actually made it. Huge congratulations on finishing this incredibly rigorous 8-part tutorial. Welcome to this Graduation Explainer. Today, we're going to synthesize everything you've learned. You've officially crossed the finish line of a really dense, highly technical journey, and our goal today is to cement that knowledge so you can confidently apply it out in the wild.
You've been putting in some serious hard work, unlearning all that deep-seated IPv4 muscle memory, right? And you've been doing it using this incredible technical reference from Virtualization Options LLC. They're a Colorado-based tech research, education, and advisory group. Now, this material was custom-built for you, system administrators and tech support folks who already know IPv4 like the back of your hand, but are suddenly staring down your organization's massive migration to IPv6. Well, you've learned from the absolute best, so let's bring the whole shebang together.
So here is the agenda for our explainer today. 1. Mindset and addressing. 2. Connectivity and discovery. 3. Transitions and security. 4. VPNs and edge cases. And finally, 5 final golden rules. We're going to hit the absolute highlights across all 8 chapters to make sure your new troubleshooting baseline is totally rock solid.
Starting off with chapters 1 and 2, Mindset and Addressing. Let's get right into how this builds your new troubleshooting baseline. What's truly wild here is directly contrasting your old, comfortable IPv4 assumptions against the reality of IPv6. The biggest shocker? Multicast totally replaces broadcast. Gone are the days of just pinging 255.255.255.255 to magically see what's alive on your subnet. You just can't do it anymore. And because NAT is basically absent now, almost every single device you touch is potentially globally routable. That completely flips your entire approach to firewall design on its head, doesn't it?
And this perfectly illustrates the core lesson of Chapter 2. You are making the massive jump from having one single IPv4 address to managing link local, global unicast, and temporary privacy addresses, all perfectly coexisting on one single interface. Back in the day, if you saw 3 IPs on one NIC, you'd probably panic, thinking it was an IP conflict or a bad misconfiguration. But in the IPv6 world, this is exactly what a perfectly healthy, functioning interface looks like.
Okay, so what happens when addressing actually fails? Say someone accidentally clones a MAC address on a couple virtual machines. The absolutely crucial thing you need to watch for is the duplicate address detection sequence. It'll leave your interface totally stuck in a state called DAD failed. If you ever run your IP-6 address command and spot that specific flag, boom, you instantly know why your global connectivity is down. The network spotted a conflict, and it permanently sidelined that address. Moving right along to chapters 3 through 5, connectivity and discovery. Let's talk about how these devices actually find each other and keep their connections alive. So, you know by now that NDP is the new ARP, right? It relies heavily on router advertisements to hand out your default route, and it desperately needs MLD snooping to stop your switches from just flooding everywhere. This is literally absolutely crucial. In IPv4, DHCP basically spoon-fed you a gateway. But in IPv6, if your router suddenly stops broadcasting those advertisements, your host will just silently drop its default route. No warning. Plus, if your switches don't have MLD snooping turned on, all this new multicast traffic is just going to blast out of every single port and completely tank your network performance.
Ooh, I love this one. Let's dive into this classic, totally infuriating symptom you're absolutely going to run into on your network. A user submits a ticket screaming, "The network is down," right? But you ping the server, and it responds instantly, beautifully. But the second they actually try to open an SSH session or pull down a large file, the connection just totally hangs. It stalls out completely. What is going on here? Well, this breaks down the dreaded path MTU discovery failure loop. It proves exactly why you absolutely must configure TCP MSS clamping or fix those firewall rules ASAP. Basically, your router hits a link with a smaller MTU and does exactly what it's supposed to do. It sends an ICMPv6 type 2 packet too big message straight back to the source. But if you have an overly paranoid firewall that just drops that message, the source literally never learns that it needs to fragment the data. You end up with this totally silent black hole failure. It's a nightmare to troubleshoot if you don't know what you're looking for. All right, on to chapters 6 and 7, Transitions and Security. Let's face it, the real-world transition to IPv6 is almost never a clean, easy cut. We've got to tackle this messy reality. Picture this. An IPv6-only client suddenly can't reach an older legacy server. Your troubleshooting checklist has to immediately zero in on NAT64 or DNS64 failures. Or even worse, hard-coded IPv4 literals that completely bypass the synthesis.
Think about it. If a developer hard-coded an IP like 1.2.3.4 straight into their application, DNS64 cannot synthesize a fake IPv6 address for that. The connection is just going to fail instantly. Oh, and keep your eyes peeled for ancient, deprecated protocols like 6to4. If you spot an Anycast 192.88.99.1 relay floating around, yeah, it is definitely time to upgrade that infrastructure. Now look at this required firewall matrix. If you block these specific ICMPv6 types, you will instantly, and I mean instantly, break NDP and PMTUD. In the old IPv4 days, admins absolutely loved blocking all ICMP traffic just to hide their servers from ping sweeps. Well, if you try that trick in IPv6, you've just broken your entire network. Seriously, your devices won't find routers, they won't resolve addresses, and they definitely won't be able to adjust their packet sizes. Just don't do it. From a pure security standpoint, you really must drop atomic fragments at the firewall. This is super important to prevent sneaky firewall bypasses. At the same time, you've got to make sure your middle boxes aren't just silently swallowing up perfectly valid extension headers. Things like load balancers have a terrible habit of panicking when they see an extension header they don't immediately recognize, and they just drop the traffic. So if you're ever seeing mysterious, unexplained connection drops, fire up Wireshark and start inspecting those headers. Moving right into Chapter 8, VPNs and Edge Cases. We are ready to tackle the final phase of troubleshooting, those truly bizarre edge cases and complex container networks. Whether it's an old, legacy VPN client quietly leaking IPv6 traffic out onto the local coffee shop Wi-Fi, or a Docker bridge network deciding to blast out rogue router advertisements, you now actually have the tools to track down the culprit. For example, if users are complaining that internal company sites won't load when they're on the VPN, you now know to immediately check if the VPN client is pushing the correct AAA records via split DNS. Or if a dev spins up a Docker container and suddenly half the floor loses internet, you know exactly how to hunt down that rogue router advertisement using Wireshark and clamp it down by enabling RA Guard on your switches. And here we are, final IPv6 golden rules. You have officially made it to the end of the course. Let's really lock in these core principles so your new dual-stack environment runs like an absolute dream. Seriously, engrave these golden rules into your brain. First, never, ever block all ICMPv6. Just don't. Second, accept that seeing multiple IP addresses on a single interface is totally normal now. Third, always explicitly test both network stacks. Don't just guess. If a user complains a website is down, maybe it's only down on IPv4, but purring along perfectly on IPv6. Run curl-6 to actually isolate the problem. And lastly, please document your delegated ISP prefixes. You do not want to be caught off guard when your service provider randomly decides to change them in the middle of the night. Huge congratulations once again on conquering this tutorial. As you head back out there to support your organization's big migration, I want to leave you with this one final thought to keep you pushing forward. You've mastered the dual stack world, but are you truly ready for an IPv6 only future? Because dual stack is just a stepping stone. Your real ultimate destination is an IPv6 only environment. So keep that Virtualization Options LLC reference guide handy, keep practicing this brand new troubleshooting mindset, and whatever you do, do not let that old IPv4 muscle memory drag you down. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, happy troubleshooting!